Let's go to our satellite. She is the president and co-founder of the People for the Ethical Treatment of Animals. My friend Ingrid Newkirk is with us. Ingrid, how you doing?
Fine, Bill. Thank you.
Okay, well, I am not going to pretend to be impartial about this because you are a friend of mine and a hero to me for everything you do for the animals. But, and I know PETA is much in the news lately because of the Michael Vick dogfighting situation. But before we get to that, I was interested this week you had an ad that you ran talking about meat. And I think if people are going to take away one thing that they've learned from this show tonight, I hope it would be the idea that meat and the eating of meat is actually worse for the global warming problem than all the oil and all the gas that we burn in our cars and airplanes. And I wish you would educate us on exactly why that is.
It is a report from the United Nations that follows up on a report from the University of Chicago, actually, that the inconvenient truth, the real big one, is that you can point a finger at Hummers and jet setting off to luxury vacations, but really the finger needs to be pointed at our plates, because when we're looking at greenhouse gases, we have CO2, we have nitrogen, we have methane. We need to look at factory farming. That's where it's coming from. That's the #1 cause of global warming, is factory farming of animals. So you cannot be a meat-eating environmentalist as much as you might want to be. We have to get away from that.
Tell me, because I'm a little confused, how is it that factory farming affects global warming so much? Is it because we use up the land, because we cut down trees, because we use resources?
It's all of those things, Bill, because when we cut down the trees, then obviously we're removing the very things that absorb nitrous oxide. Carbon dioxide. When we have cattle, we shouldn't worry so much about car emissions, but about emissions from livestock, which are producing methane into the atmosphere. And methane is actually a much bigger problem than CO2 or any of the other gases that are a problem for us in global warming.
So in other words, they cut down the forests to make grazing land for the cattle.
And then of course, it's also a problem for the use of topsoil. It's a problem for the pollution of water because the offal, the cleaning, the manure, everything goes into the waterways. But it's the manure that causes all sorts of problems with the soil. And it's also the emissions from cattle. Okay. You know, they're belching and they're doing other things, and that's sending methane up into the atmosphere. So and that is the #1 cause of global warming.
It's belching and farting is really the...
Yep. And of course, we have this Rube Goldberg system of making food in this country. You talk about the heartland, and you drive through the heartland, you see these wonderful fields of corn and soy and so on. We're not eating it. We're feeding it all to cattle. Right. So in fact, we take 6 to 16 pounds worth of that and put it through a cow or a chicken and get out 1 pound back. And that's not a very efficient system. So that's also destructive of the environment.
But let's not forget they're eating that hamburger and that steak in New York City, too.
Yes.
It's not just...
No, they're growing it in the heartland, and then, of course, it gets shipped everywhere, which is also energy intensive.
All right. So let me ask you about the Michael Vick situation, how that turned out. He made his big apology on Monday. Were you satisfied with how it was resolved?
I think we'll see later on what he's going to do and what the judge is going to do. I was very pleased. We had been asking all along for 2 things. Because, you know, I mean, it is what it is. You can't redo the past. But it's ripped the lid off dogfighting in the United States, which is a problem we've known has been there forever, but just hasn't been in the news very much. So we need to seize this opportunity. He's in a very strong position, like it or not. We wanted him to be the one to say, look, I realize now dogfighting is a terrible thing. I can say that to a dog fighter all day long, but they don't care what I say. If Michael Vick says it, they may care. He did say that. He also said the other thing we had asked for, which is to say to children, don't follow my lead. I was a role model to you, don't follow in my footsteps. So those two things I think were very important, but he needs to go far beyond that and say many more things and do many more things. We can't let this just go underground again, and that's what will happen.
Well, he said he found Jesus. This
Yes,
caused him to find you. That rascally Jesus is always hiding until someone fucks up. It's just amazing why, Jesus, I hadn't heard about him.
Well, this is good, though, because if he asks, as you say, if he asks what would Jesus do, I don't think Jesus would be electrocuting dogs and inviting friends over.
All right. I thank you for all you do, Ingrid, and I thank you for coming on.